I believed her. I believed every word my daughter Jennifer told me when she said Omar had killed my wife Catherine. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. But in that moment, 3 days after Catherine's funeral, when Jennifer sat across from me in our Calgary home with tears streaming down her face, I didn't question her. She was my daughter. Why would I? Catherine and I had 43 years together. 43 years of building a life in Calgary after we moved here from Halifax in the 80s. I was a civil engineer then, working on infrastructure projects across Alberta. Catherine taught elementary school. We had Jennifer when we were both 29, and we poured everything into giving her the best life possible. The Parkinson's diagnosis came 4 years ago, right after Catherine's 61st birthday. I'll never forget that day in Dr. Helen Park's office at the Foothills Medical Center. Catherine's hands had been trembling for months, and we'd convinced ourselves it was just stress or age. But Dr. Park, a neurologist who'd become something of a friend over the years, sat us down with that look doctors get when they're about to change your life. "I'm sorry," she said, and those 2 words carried the weight of everything we'd lose. At first, it wasn't so bad. Catherine could still do most things herself. The tremors were manageable. We adjusted. I retired early to be home with her, and we made the best of it. We took walks along the Bow River when she felt up to it. We watched the Flames games together, her hand shaking in mine. We laughed about getting old, even as we both knew what was coming. But Parkinson's is progressive. That's the word Dr. Park used, progressive. It sounds almost gentle, doesn't it? Like progress, like moving forward. But there's nothing gentle about watching the person you love slowly lose control of their own body. By last summer, Catherine needed help with almost everything. Getting dressed, eating, walking. The tremors had gotten worse, and her balance was shot. I did what I could, but I'm 67 years old myself, and I have a bad back from 3 decades of construction sites. When Catherine fell in the bathroom and I couldn't lift her, I finally admitted we needed professional help. Jennifer suggested a physical therapist. She'd been pushing for it for months, actually. "Dad, you can't do this alone," she'd say during her weekly phone calls from Vancouver, where she worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative. "You need help. Let me find someone." I was resistant at first. The idea of a stranger in our home, touching Catherine, seeing her at her most vulnerable, it felt wrong. But after the bathroom fall, I didn't have much choice. That's how Omar came into our lives. Jennifer said she'd found him through a colleague whose mother had Parkinson's. He's supposed to be excellent, Dad. Very patient, very skilled. He's from Syria, originally. Came here 5 years ago. He's trying to build his client base. Omar showed up on a Monday morning in September, right as the leaves were starting to turn. I remember opening the door and seeing this young man, maybe 30 or so, with kind eyes and a nervous smile. He was wearing a medical jacket with his credentials embroidered on the pocket, and he carried a professional-looking bag. "Mr. Harrison, I'm Omar Al-Masri. I'm here to help Mrs. Harrison with her physical therapy." His accent was noticeable, but his English was clear. He shook my hand, firmly, respectfully, not trying to prove anything, just a good handshake. I liked him immediately, though I didn't want to admit it. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. "She's in the living room. Fair warning, she's not too happy about this." Omar smiled. "Most of my clients aren't, at first. It's hard to accept help. But I promise, Mr. Harrison, I'm here to make her more independent, not less." And he did. God help me, he really did. That first session, I sat in the corner of our living room and watched as Omar introduced himself to Catherine. She was in her recliner, trembling, looking small and fragile in a way that broke my heart every time I saw it. But Omar didn't treat her like she was fragile. He crouched down to her eye level and spoke to her like she was a whole person, not just a diagnosis. "Mrs. Harrison, my name is Omar. I'm going to work with you 3 times a week to help you move more easily. But I want you to know something important. You're in charge here. If something hurts, you tell me. If you need to rest, you tell me. If you think I'm full of crap, you definitely tell me that too." Catherine laughed. It was the first time I'd heard her really laugh in weeks. "Well," she said, her voice shaky but amused, "I'll certainly keep that in mind." Over the next 3 months, Omar became part of our routine. He came Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 9 o'clock sharp. He was never late, never canceled, never seemed rushed or distracted. He worked with Catherine on exercises to improve her balance, her flexibility, her strength. He was endlessly patient when she got frustrated, which was often. He celebrated small victories, taking 3 steps without support, picking up a cup without spilling, like they were Olympic achievements. And Catherine improved. Not dramatically, not miraculously. Parkinson's doesn't work that way. But she could do more. She felt more confident. She smiled more. I started looking forward to Omar's visits too. After the sessions, while Catherine rested, he'd sometimes stay for a coffee and we'd chat. He told me about Syria, about the Civil War, about leaving everything behind to come to Canada with his wife and young son. He told me about the struggle to get his credentials recognized here, about working odd jobs while studying for his licensing exams, about finally being able to practice again. "I'm grateful to be here," he said one morning in November, both hands wrapped around his coffee mug. "Canada gave my family a future. This work, helping people like Mrs. Harrison, it's how I give back." Jennifer called every Sunday evening, right at 7 o'clock like clockwork. I'd tell her about Catherine's progress, and she'd always ask about Omar. "How's the therapist working out?" "Omar? He's excellent. Catherine's really improved." "That's good. Is he professional? You're keeping an eye on things?" "Of course I am. But honestly, Jen, I trust him." There'd be a pause. "Just be careful, Dad. You don't really know him." I thought it was normal parental concern, you know? Daughter worrying about her aging parents with a stranger in their house. I didn't read anything into it. Jennifer visited for a week over Christmas. It had been almost a year since we'd seen her in person. Her job kept her busy, she said. Lots of travel for conferences and client meetings. She looked tired when she arrived, thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under her eyes. "Work's been intense," she explained, hugging me tight at the airport. "But I needed to see you guys. I needed to be home." That week, Omar kept to his regular schedule. Jennifer insisted on being there for the sessions, watching from the corner of the room where I usually sat. I thought she wanted to see her mother's progress. But she'd ask Omar strange questions afterwards. "Are you keeping detailed notes on her medications? Do you adjust her exercises based on her medication timing? Have you noticed any changes in her prescription dosage?" Omar was always professional in his responses. "I'm a physical therapist, Miss Harrison, not a pharmacist. Mr. Harrison manages your mother's medications. I focus on movement and mobility." On Christmas Eve, after Omar had left for the day, Jennifer pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Dad, I'm worried about him." "About Omar? Why?" "He seems too interested in Mom's medications. It's not his job to ask about that stuff. And did you notice he's always looking around the house, like he's casing the place?" I frowned. "Jen, he's been coming here for 3 months. He's not looking around. He's just comfortable here. Just keep an eye on your valuables, okay? And maybe don't leave him alone with Mom." "I never leave him alone with her." "Good. Keep it that way." She flew back to Vancouver on Boxing Day, and I didn't think much more about her warnings. Omar continued his visits. Catherine continued to improve. Life went on. Until February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'd planned something simple. Catherine's favorite meal, takeout from the Italian place we'd gone to on our first date 45 years ago. Omar had been there that morning for his regular session. Everything had been normal. Catherine was tired afterwards, but that was typical. She'd taken her medications. I'd watched her swallow each pill like I did every day, and settled in for a nap around 1 in the afternoon. I was in the garage, working on a woodworking project, when I heard the thud. I'll never forget that sound. It echoed through the house, and I knew immediately something was wrong. I ran inside and found Catherine on the bedroom floor, convulsing. Her eyes were rolled back, foam at her mouth. I called 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, but it felt like hours. They worked on her right there on our bedroom floor, trying to stabilize her, asking me rapid-fire questions about her medical history, her medications, what had happened. They rushed her to the Foothills Medical Center. I followed in my truck, driving too fast, praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. Dr. Park met me in the emergency department. Her face told me everything before she said a word. Robert, I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. Catherine had a massive seizure, likely triggered by a severe medication reaction. Her heart couldn't handle the stress. She passed away 20 minutes ago. The world stopped. Just stopped. Medication reaction? I heard myself say, my voice sounding far away. But she took the same medications she always takes. I gave them to her myself. I know. We're running toxicology tests to figure out what happened. Sometimes, Parkinson's medications can interact in unexpected ways, especially if dosages change. But nothing changed. Dr. Park put her hand on my shoulder. We'll figure it out, Robert. I promise. For now, do you have someone who can be with you? Family? I called Jennifer from the hospital corridor, my fingers numb as I dialed. She picked up on the first ring. Dad? Is everything okay? Jen. My voice broke. It's your mother. She's gone. The sound she made will haunt me forever. Raw, animal grief transmitted through fiber optic cables across 3 provinces. What happened? Seizure, medication reaction, they think. I don't understand. I'm getting on the next flight. Dad, don't move. I'll be there in a few hours. Jennifer arrived at midnight, having caught the last flight from Vancouver. She held me while I cried, both of us sitting on our front steps in the February cold, not caring about the temperature or the neighbors or anything except the fact that Catherine was gone. The funeral was 3 days later. Small, quiet, just how Catherine would have wanted it. Our neighbors came, some of my old colleagues, Catherine's teaching friends from years ago. Omar came too, standing at the back of the funeral home, looking devastated. He tried to approach me afterwards to offer condolences, but Jennifer intercepted him. I think you've done enough, she said, her voice cold. I was too numb to intervene. That evening, after everyone had left and the house felt impossibly empty, Jennifer and I sat in the living room where Omar had worked with Catherine just days before. Dad, Jennifer said carefully, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to want to hear it. What is it? I've been thinking about Mom's death, about the medication reaction. The toxicology reports aren't back yet, Dr. Park said. I know what killed Mom. Jennifer's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. It was Omar. I stared at her. What? Think about it, Dad. He was here the morning she died. He was alone with her while you were in the garage. He was always asking about her medications, always too interested in her prescriptions. And he's a physical therapist. He has access to medical knowledge, knows how drugs interact. Jen, that's insane. Omar would never, wouldn't he? She leaned forward. Dad, you don't really know him. He's been here 3 months. 3 months. And he had opportunity every single session. He could have given her something. Switched her pills. Changed her dosage. You weren't watching every second. I trust him. Mom trusted him too. And now she's dead. My head was spinning. Why would he do that? What possible reason? Money, Dad. Think about it. He's struggling financially. He told you himself. You and Mom are comfortable. He knows you have savings, knows where you keep things. Maybe he thought if something happened to Mom, in the chaos, he could, I don't know, take something. Or maybe he made a mistake with her medications and is covering it up. This is crazy, Jennifer. Is it? Or do you just not want to see it? She pulled out her phone. I've been researching cases of caregivers who hurt their patients, either deliberately or through negligence. It happens more than you think. And immigrants, Dad. Some of them, they come here and they're desperate, and they do things they wouldn't normally do. Don't, my voice was sharp, don't make this about where he's from. I'm not. I'm saying he's in a vulnerable position, and vulnerable people sometimes do desperate things. I'm saying we need to consider all possibilities. I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend Omar. But grief makes you doubt everything, including yourself. And Jennifer was my daughter. She was successful, educated, a pharmaceutical rep who understood medications. She knew about these things. "What do you want me to do?" I asked quietly. "I want you to call the police. I want them to investigate. I want them to look at Omar's access to Mom, his financial situation, his movements that day. I want them to get justice for Mom. The toxicology reports will show what killed her, not who. Dad, please, do this for Mom. Don't let him get away with it." So I did. God forgive me. I called the Calgary Police Service and told them I had concerns about my wife's death. I told them about Omar, about his access to Catherine, about the medication reaction. I watched Jennifer nod approvingly as I spoke. 2 detectives came to the house the next day. Jennifer was there, coaching me, filling in details I'd forgotten, painting a picture of Omar that didn't match the man I knew, but somehow made a terrible kind of sense when she explained it. The detectives interviewed me for 2 hours. They took notes on Omar's schedule, his access to Catherine's medications, his financial situation that I'd mentioned in passing months ago. They asked if I'd noticed anything suspicious. Had he ever asked to borrow money? No, never. Did he seem overly interested in your wife's prescriptions? I hesitated, remembering Jennifer's Christmas warnings. My daughter thought so. They interviewed Jennifer separately. I could hear her voice from the kitchen, calm and certain, outlining her theory. When they left, one of the detectives told me they'd be in touch. "We'll wait for the toxicology reports, but based on what you and your daughter have told us, we'll definitely want to talk to Mr. Al-Masri." The toxicology reports came back a week later. Catherine had died from a severe overdose of her Parkinson's medication, combined with a sedative that shouldn't have been in her system. The levels were 3 times what they should have been. Dr. Park called me personally. "Robert, I don't understand this. I never prescribed that sedative. And the dopamine levels. That's not the dosage I had her on. Something's very wrong here." When I told Jennifer, she just nodded. "That's proof, Dad. Someone gave Mom those medications. Someone who had access to her pills and knew enough about drug interactions to know what would happen. But how would Omar? He was there that morning. He had opportunity. And he's a medical professional. He'd know what to give her. How much would be fatal? The police arrested Omar 2 days later at his apartment. I wasn't there, but Jennifer got the details from the detective who called. They found him with his wife and son, she told me, something like satisfaction in her voice. He denied everything, of course. Claimed he never touched Mom's medications. But they're charging him with criminal negligence causing death. His work permit's being reviewed too. They might deport him. His family should have thought about that before he killed someone's mother. I felt sick, but I told myself it was grief. It was justice. It was what Catherine would have wanted. Except Catherine would never have wanted this. Deep down, I knew that. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved through the house like a ghost. Jennifer stayed in Calgary, working remotely, taking care of the funeral arrangements and estate paperwork. She was efficient, organized, handling everything I couldn't manage. Too efficient, maybe. I started noticing little things. The way she'd go through Catherine's pill organizer, examining each compartment. The way she'd ask detailed questions about the medications, about timing, about who'd been present when Catherine took them. "Just trying to help the investigation," she'd say when I questioned her. One afternoon, I found her in my home office, going through our financial files. "Jen, what are you doing?" She jumped, actually jumped, like I'd caught her doing something wrong. "Just organizing Mom's accounts, Dad. The estate stuff. You know how it is." But I hadn't asked her to do that. And the way she'd been looking at the bank statements, the investment portfolios. It wasn't the look of someone organizing. It was the look of someone calculating. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and thought about everything Jennifer had said about Omar. The more I replayed it, the less sense it made. Omar was always asking about medications? No, he wasn't. He'd answered Jennifer's questions, but he'd never initiated those conversations. Omar was looking around the house. Casing it? No, he was comfortable in a home he'd visited 3 times a week for 3 months. Omar was desperate for money. He'd never asked for anything beyond his regular fee, which was modest and which I always paid on time. And the medication overdose. How would Omar even get access to Catherine's pills? They were in our bedroom, in the bathroom cabinet. Omar never went in there. His sessions were in the living room, sometimes the kitchen. He didn't roam the house. But Jennifer did. Jennifer had been here for a week at Christmas. Jennifer had access to everything. Jennifer knew medications. It was literally her job. I sat up, my heart pounding. No, that was impossible. That was my daughter. She loved Catherine. She loved us. But another voice in my head, quieter but persistent. Did she? Jennifer hadn't visited in a year before Christmas. A whole year. Catherine would cry sometimes, quietly, wondering why her daughter was always too busy. I'd make excuses. Her job was demanding. Vancouver was far. Flights were expensive. But Jennifer made good money as a pharmaceutical rep. Really good money. Or, she said she did. I thought about her appearance at Christmas. The weight loss, the exhaustion, the way she'd seemed stressed, desperate even. The next morning, while Jennifer was in the shower, I did something I'd never done before. I went through her purse. I found credit card statements, lots of them, all of them maxed out. Collections notices, a letter from her employer dated 6 months prior, termination notice for performance issues. She'd been fired 6 months ago, and she hadn't told us. I found more in her suitcase. Casino receipts, dozens of them, from casinos in Vancouver, Surrey, Richmond. Losses in the thousands. Bills from a loan company with interest rates that made my engineer's brain hurt. Jennifer was in debt. Serious debt. And Catherine and I had life insurance. We had savings. We had equity in the house. We had an estate that, split between me and Jennifer, would solve a lot of financial problems. My hands were shaking worse than Catherine's ever had as I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. I needed help. I needed someone objective. Someone who'd known Catherine, and who would tell me if I was losing my mind. I called Dr. Helen Park. Robert, how are you holding up? Dr. Park, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Of course. What is it? Catherine's toxicology report. The sedative she shouldn't have had. What kind of sedative was it? It was a benzodiazepine, lorazepam specifically. We'd never prescribed it for her. Is that something a physical therapist would have access to? Not really. It's prescription only. A therapist wouldn't prescribe medications. They'd need to get it from a doctor or a pharmacy. What about a pharmaceutical sales rep? There was a long pause. Robert, what are you thinking? I'm thinking my daughter has access to sample medications. I'm thinking she knows drug interactions. I'm thinking she was here the day Catherine died. And I'm thinking I might have made a terrible mistake. Come to my office, today. Bring whatever you found. Dr. Park met me at the Foothills Medical Center that afternoon. I brought the financial documents, the termination letter, everything. She listened as I explained my suspicions, my doubts, the timeline of events. The medications Catherine took that morning, I said. I gave them to her. I took them from her pill organizer, same as always. But Jennifer organized those pills on Christmas. She said she wanted to help, said I looked tired. I let her. God, I let her. Dr. Park's face was grave. Robert, these are serious allegations against your daughter. I know. That's why I need you to tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm just a grieving old man, looking for someone to blame. She looked at the documents spread across her desk. These financial records paint a concerning picture. And the fact that she was terminated from a pharmaceutical position, she would have had access to medication samples, knowledge of drug interactions. But we need proof. The security footage from the house. Do you have cameras? No. But Jennifer mentioned I should get some, right after we hired Omar. She was very insistent, actually. Said it was for safety. Dr. Park picked up her phone. I'm calling the police, not the detectives handling the case against Omar. Someone independent. And Robert, don't let Jennifer know you suspect anything. If she did this, if she's capable of that, she's dangerous. The detective who came was a woman named Detective Rousseau. 40-something, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She listened to everything, asked pointed questions, took notes. The timing of Miss Harrison's visits, her access to medications, her financial problems, it's all circumstantial, but it's concerning. However, we've already charged Mr. Mystere Al-Masri. Reversing that requires solid evidence. What about pharmacy records? Dr. Park asked. If Jennifer was filling prescriptions or obtaining medications, there'd be a trail. Detective Rousseau nodded. I'll pull her prescription history, and we'll need to examine the pill organizer if you still have it. I do. Jennifer keeps telling me to throw it out, but I haven't been able to. Don't. And Mr. Harrison, I need you to act normal around your daughter. Can you do that? I thought about Omar sitting in a jail cell, about his wife and young son, about the career I'd helped destroy. Yes, I can do that. It took Detective Rousseau 4 days to build the case. 4 days of me pretending everything was fine while Jennifer sorted through Catherine's belongings. Already planning, I realize now, how to access the estate. On the 4th day, Detective Rousseau called, Mr. Harrison, can you and your daughter come to the station? I have some updates on the case. Jennifer seemed pleased. See, Dad? They probably have more evidence against Omar. This will finally be closure. We drove to the police station together. Jennifer chatted about funeral home arrangements, about how we should sell the house and I should move into a condo, about how she could help manage my finances. Detective Rousseau met us in an interview room. She had a folder in front of her, thick with documents. Thank you both for coming. I wanted to update you on the investigation into Mrs. Harrison's death. Have you found more evidence against Omar? Jennifer asked. In a manner of speaking, yes. We've found evidence, but not against Mr. Al-Masri. She opened the folder. Miss Harrison, can you explain why you filled a prescription for lorazepam 3 days before Christmas at a pharmacy in Vancouver under a name that wasn't yours? The color drained from Jennifer's face. Can you explain why your credit card was used at that same pharmacy? I don't. Can you explain these text messages we recovered from your phone? Detective Rousseau slid a printout across the table. The ones to your bookie, saying you'd have money soon. You just needed to take care of something first? Jennifer looked at me, her eyes wide. Dad, I can explain. Can you explain the security footage from the drugstore, showing you purchasing medication in December? Or the footage from your parents' house from Christmas Eve, when you were organizing your mother's pill container and we can clearly see you adding pills that aren't her regular medications? Wait, we don't have cameras. Jennifer stopped, realizing what she'd just admitted. No, you don't, but your neighbor does. Mr. Chen, 2 doors down. His security camera covers part of your parents' front yard and the window to their living room. The footage is surprisingly clear. Detective Rousseau pulled out more documents. We also have your pharmacy records showing unauthorized access to medication samples from your former employer, your bank records showing significant gambling debts, your internet search history from December 23rd, searches for medication overdose, Parkinson's, how to cause seizure, untraceable drugs. Jennifer started crying. Not the raw grief from Catherine's death. Different tears. Desperate tears. I didn't mean for her to die. I just wanted her to sleep. I just needed time. The debts, Dad, they were going to kill me. The casino, they were threatening me. I just needed some money. Just enough to... You killed your mother for gambling debts? My voice didn't sound like mine. No. I just wanted her to sleep so I could borrow from her account. Just borrow. But something went wrong with the dosage. The medications interacted, and then she had the seizure, and I panicked. And when you called about Omar, I thought, you thought you could frame him. Detective Rousseau's voice was ice. You thought you could let an innocent man take the blame for your crime. He's nobody. He's just some immigrant, Dad, and you were going to lose Mom anyway. The Parkinsons would have killed her eventually. I just sped it up a little, and I needed the money. I stood up. I couldn't listen anymore. Mr. Harrison, Detective Rousseau said gently, I'll need you to wait outside while we process your daughter's arrest. Jennifer grabbed my arm. Dad, please, I'm your daughter. You can't let them do this, please. I looked at this person I didn't recognize. This person who'd killed my wife. Who'd let me believe Omar was responsible. Who'd sat at Catherine's funeral and cried crocodile tears while an innocent man sat in jail. You're not my daughter, I said quietly. My daughter died the same day my wife did. I walked out. Omar was released the next day. The charges were dropped, an apology issued, a promise of compensation made. But what compensation could cover this? His reputation was damaged. His family had endured weeks of stress. His son had been bullied at school. His wife had stopped sleeping. I went to his apartment. He answered the door, looking exhausted, wary when he saw me. "Mr. Harrison." "Omar." What do you say? How do you apologize for destroying someone's life? I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have trusted you. He was quiet for a long moment. You trusted your daughter. That's natural. I let her convince me of something I knew wasn't true. Catherine trusted you. She liked you. She got better because of you. And I betrayed that trust. I betrayed you. Mr. Harrison. Robert. Please. Robert. Omar's voice was gentle. You were grieving. People do terrible things when they're grieving. I don't blame you. You should. I blame me. His wife appeared behind him, holding their son. She looked at me with understandable suspicion. I want to make this right, I said. I know I can't undo what happened, but Catherine would want me to try. Please, let me help. Your legal fees, your lost income, your son's counseling if he needs it. Let me cover it. It's the least I can do. Omar shook his head. You don't have to. I do. Catherine would haunt me if I didn't. She liked you, Omar. She trusted you. And she was right to. Let me honor that. We talked for an hour. I learned the full extent of what my accusations had cost them. The immigration consultant fees as they fought the threat to Omar's work permit, the therapy for their son, who'd been called a killer's kid at school, the jobs Omar had lost when word spread. Before I left, I wrote a check. A large one. Omar tried to refuse. It's not charity, I said firmly. It's restitution. Take it, please. He took it. Over the following weeks, I worked with Dr. Park and Detective Rousseau to help Omar rebuild his reputation. We released a public statement, clearing his name completely. We testified at Jennifer's hearing about his character, his professionalism, his innocence. Jennifer was charged with first-degree murder. The premeditation was clear. The research, the medication acquisition, the planning. She pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for a lighter sentence. 12 years in a federal prison in British Columbia. I haven't visited her. I don't know if I ever will. Catherine's estate, minus what I gave to Omar, funded something I'd thought about for a long time. A scholarship fund for immigrant healthcare workers pursuing licensing in Canada. People like Omar, who'd left everything behind and were trying to rebuild their lives through service to others. It's called the Catherine Harrison Memorial Fund. Dr. Park helped me set it up. Omar sits on the selection committee. It won't bring Catherine back. It won't erase what Jennifer did, or what I did in believing her. But it's something. Catherine would like it, I think. She always believed in helping people who were trying to help themselves. I still live in our house in Calgary. It's too big for one person, but I can't seem to leave. Catherine's presence is everywhere. Her books, her coffee mugs, the worn spot on the couch where she always sat. Omar visits sometimes. Not as a therapist. Neither of us could go back to that relationship, but as something like a friend. We drink coffee and talk about Catherine, about his family, about the scholarship fund. We talk about forgiveness and justice and how sometimes those things don't line up the way we expect. Do you forgive Jennifer? He asked me once. I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe someday, but not yet. Maybe not ever. Do you forgive yourself? That was harder to answer. I'm trying. The house is quiet now. Too quiet. But when I look out the living room window at the Bow River in the distance, I try to remember that Catherine's last months were good ones. Omar gave her that confidence, mobility, dignity. Jennifer took her life. But Omar gave her those final good months. I have to remember that. I have to hold on to that. And I have to live with what I did. With the fact that I believed a lie because it came from someone I loved. With the fact that I almost destroyed an innocent man's life because I couldn't see past my own grief. Dr. Park says that's part of being human. Making mistakes, being fooled, trusting the wrong people. She says forgiveness has to include forgiving ourselves. I'm still working on that part. But every time I hear about another scholarship recipient, every time I get a letter from an immigrant healthcare worker thanking the fund for helping them, I think maybe Catherine would be proud. Maybe this is how we make meaning from tragedy. Not by erasing what happened, but by building something good from the rubble. It's not redemption exactly. I don't know if I deserve that, but it's a start.